Hello, hello. Welcome back to No Me Callo. I Won't Stay Quiet. I'm your host, Lomelin, and today we're closing out this February series of What is Love? Qué Es El Amor? And today we ask ourselves one final time, what is love? And maybe the hardest answer, the most uncomfortable one is this. Love is also letting go. After loving with your whole heart, after giving yourself without guarantees, after staying when you wanted to run, after crying in silence, after fighting for someone who couldn't stay, we arrive at the most painful moment and at the same time the most liberating one, letting go. And no, I'm not talking about leaving in anger. I'm not talking about blocking them, hating them, or wishing them the worst. I'm not talking about turning love into resentment. I'm talking about letting go with love. After loving with your whole heart, after giving without limits, after staying when something inside you already knew it wasn't healthy, after justifying, understanding, being patient, after trying to be the mature one, to be understanding, to be strong. And it doesn't feel strong. It feels like failure. It feels like abandonment. It feels like something is being ripped out of your chest. Because when you truly love, you don't leave halfway. You leave whole. You give yourself completely. And when it ends, you don't just lose the person. You lose the illusion. You lose the future you imagined. You lose the conversations you had already played out in your mind. You lose the us that already felt secure. And it hurts. It hurts to accept that it wasn't enough. So you know what to do. Get comfortable. Grab your coffee, your cafecito, your glass of wine, or a cold beer, and get ready to chismear with me. So let's talk about something almost no one wants to talk about. Because maybe it feels humiliating, because it hurts to admit it, because it hits your pride. Because sometimes these people, they're gonna leave. And when they leave, it turns out that they go back with their ex. Yes, the same person they swore was toxic, the same person they said that they didn't want anymore, the same relationship that was already dead, the one where, according to them, they weren't even happy. And you're left there watching, trying to understand, and ask yourself, how is that possible? After everything we built, after everything I gave, after everything they promised me, and here's the part no one wants to hear. They don't go back because their ex is better than you. They go back because it's easier. They go back to what they already know. To the old dynamic, to the relationship where they already know how to fight, where they already know how to make up, where they don't have to learn anything new, where they don't have to change. Because you represented something different. You represented growth, emotional responsibility, real communication, depth, uncomfortable but necessary conversations, boundary, clear expectations, and that, well, not everyone can handle that. Because growth is uncomfortable. Healing is uncomfortable. Admitting I messed up too is uncomfortable. Going to therapy is uncomfortable. Breaking family patterns is uncomfortable. Looking in the mirror and accepting you have wounds you haven't worked on, that's uncomfortable. And some people prefer what's familiar, even if it's toxic, even if it's chaotic, even if it's unstable, because at least there, they know how to survive. What's familiar creates a false sense of control. With their ex, they already know what the script is. They know when they're gonna fight. They know when they'll get back together. They know how much they can give and how much they won't. With you, they couldn't. With you, they had to grow. With you, they couldn't hide behind sarcasm. They couldn't run every time things got deep. They couldn't stay halfway, and that's scary. So no, it's not that their ex is better than you. It's that their ex is at the same emotional level where they decided to stay, and you were on a different level. And yes, that hurts. Of course it hurts. It hurts your ego because you think, so am I worthless? It hurts your soul because you wonder, why didn't they fight for me? It hurts your pride because it feels like you were replaced. But believe me, you were not replaced. They went back, and there's a huge difference. You weren't too much, you weren't intense, you weren't complicated. You were aware. And awareness makes uncomfortable those who wants to stay asleep. There are people who just don't want to improve. Not because they're bad, because improving means stopping the blame. It means taking responsibility. It means maturing. And maturing means losing certain emotional comforts. And not everyone's ready for that. You cannot force someone to evolve. You cannot love someone into healing. You cannot give enough love to compensate for someone else's lack of inner work. And you cannot stay waiting for them to one day wake up. Because while you wait, you abandon yourself. While you justify, you shrink yourself. While you say they just need time, you teach yourself to accept less. And that's what truly hurts to accept. That sometimes the greatest act of self-love is letting them go back to where they belong. And you keep moving forward, even if it hurts, even if it burns, even if your ego wants an explanation. Because your decision does not define your worth. It defines your capacity. And you are not here to make yourself smaller so someone else can feel comfortable. So if this happened to you, it wasn't because you weren't enough. It was because you were ready for something that they still didn't know how to hold. And that's not a loss. It's clarity. But letting go is not a moment. It's not a day you wake up and say, that's it. Today I close this chapter. I wish it were. I wish it were as simple as deleting photos, blocking a number, and moving on. But it's not. Letting go is a process, a messy one, a painful one. It's waking up and the very first thing you do, even though you already know the answer, it's check your phone. As if magically there might be a message that changes everything. As if overnight that person woke up with clarity, with regret, with enough love, and there's nothing. And that tiny second, that microsecond of hope before you see the empty screen, that's the hit. Letting go is hearing a random song on your playlist and feeling your chest tighten. It's driving and suddenly remembering a conversation you had in that same seat. It's passing by a place and your body reacts before your mind does. Because the body remembers. It remembers how their hand felt. It remembers their scent. It remembers the tone of their voice when they said your name. Letting go is crying in the shower so no one hears you. It's crying while driving so no one sees you. It's crying in silence because you're tired of explaining that it still hurts. And the heaviest part is the internal dialogue, that constant interrogation. Did I do something wrong? Was I too intense? Did I ask for too much? Should I have been more patient? Should I have talked less? Should I have tolerated more? Did I love the wrong way? And I need you to hear this as if I were telling you face to face. No, you did not love the wrong way. Loving deeply is not a flaw. Feeling strongly is not a weakness. Wanting clarity is not exaggerating. Wanting commitment is not pressure. So what happened is that you were ready and the other person just wasn't. And when two people are not on the same emotional level, the more aware one suffers always. Because they see the potential. Because they see what it could be if both people did the work. Because they see the other person's wounds and still choose to love. Because they feel the disconnection before the other one even admits it. And still, they try. So they try to communicate better. They try to be more patient. They try not to react so strongly. They try to understand. They try to justify. They've been through a lot. They just don't know how to love differently. They just need time. They're scared. And in the meantime, you stay a little longer. A little longer than you should. A little longer than it's healthy. A little longer than you promise yourself you would tolerate. Because when you truly love, you don't want to give up. But there's a very thin line between loving and abandoning yourself. And the more conscious person struggles the most on that line. Because they know they're not receiving the same. They feel it. They see it. But they also see what it could be. And that hope, that's the hardest thing to let go of. Until one day you get tired. Not of loving, you just get tired of doing it alone. You get tired of initiating the hard conversations. You get tired of explaining what you need. You get tired of feeling like you're always asking for the bare minimum. And then something quiet happens. It's not a big fight. It's not an explosive drama. It's a deep exhaustion. A moment where you say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And not because you don't love them, but because you realize you were holding something that wasn't mutual. And accepting that is devastating because it means all that effort, all that patience, all that love wasn't enough to make the other person grow. And here comes another truth. You cannot grow for someone. You cannot heal for someone. You cannot force someone to want the same things you want. And letting go is accepting that. It's accepting that love is not always synchronized. It's accepting that you can love deeply and still not be loved the way you deserve. And that does not speak to your value. It speaks to different emotional levels, different timing, different processes, different awareness. And yes, the more awake person suffers more, but they also learn more. They evolve more. They grow more after the pain. Letting go is not stopping loving overnight. It's loving but choosing yourself. It's missing that but not going back. It's crying but not begging. It's feeling but not betraying yourself. And that is a strength no one sees. Because from the outside, it just looked like it ended. But on the inside, you are rebuilding yourself. And even if it hurts right now, one day you will look back and realize you didn't break. You woke up. But the easiest thing would probably be to hate. Truly. The easiest thing would be to turn the pain into anger, into rage, into wounded pride. The easiest thing would be to say, I hope it goes badly for them. I hope they feel what I felt. I hope one day they regret it. The easiest thing would be go to block them, delete the photos, act like it never mattered, like it didn't hurt, like you didn't truly love. Because hate gives you a sense of power. It makes you feel strong for a moment. It makes you feel like you didn't lose. But let's be honest, that doesn't heal. It only numbs. It's like putting ice on a deep wound without cleaning it. It stops burning for a while, but the infection is still there. Letting go with love is harder, much harder, because it requires you to accept that it was real, that it wasn't a waste of time, that it wasn't a silly illusion, that it wasn't an invented fantasy. It was love, and it hurts more when it was love. Letting go with love is being able to say, even if your voice breaks, I loved you. I loved you well. I did the best that I could with what I knew. I was honest. I was loyal. I was brave, but I'm not going to keep trying alone. And that last part, that's the hardest one. Because when you love, you want to fight. You want to insist. You want to believe that if you do just a little more, explain better, be more patient, something will change. But there comes a point when you understand you cannot love for two. You cannot commit for two. You cannot carry emotional responsibility for two. And accepting that is not bitterness, it's maturity. Letting go with love is recognizing that there were good things, that there were real laughs. There were hugs that truly felt safe. There were sincere looks. There were moments that genuinely felt like home. And you don't need to erase that to move forward. You can honor what was without staying trapped in what couldn't be. But it also means accepting a truth that shatters illusions. Love is not always enough. Not when there's no maturity. Not when you don't get what you give. Not when one gives everything and the other gives when they can. Not when one wants to build and the other just wants to feel good. Love without emotional responsibility becomes unstable. Love without action becomes words. Love without commitment becomes inconsistent. And you weren't asking for too much. You were asking for alignment. Letting go with love is closing the door without turning the memory into a war. It's not speaking badly about them. It's not inventing flaws to justify your exit. And it's not minimizing what you felt just to be strong. It's something much harder. It's saying, you know what? I don't hate you. I don't need to destroy you to leave. I'm not going to turn what we lived into something dirty, but I'm not coming back either. And that sentence of I'm not coming back, that is power because it doesn't come from resentment. It comes from self-respect. It's understanding that you can love someone and still recognize it's not healthy to stay. It's accepting that someone can be important and still not be compatible with you. It's looking back without resentment, but also without fantasy. And that is a strength not everyone has. Many people go back because the emptiness feels heavier than their dignity. Many go back because their ego needs validation. Many go back because they confuse nostalgia with destiny. But when you let go with love, you're not running away. You're choosing yourself. You're saying, I'd rather miss you than lose myself. I'd rather cry for a while than live in constant uncertainty. I'd rather face the grief than keep negotiating my boundaries. And that takes a quiet kind of courage. Because no one applauds when you leave calmly. No one sees the nights you bite your tongue not to text. No one sees the strength it takes you not to respond when you know it would be easy to fall back. Letting go with love is not weakness. It's emotional discipline. It's saying, what we had was real. What I felt was deep, but what I need now is peace. And sometimes peace can cost people. And yes, there will be days when you miss them, when you doubt, but there will also be days when you feel something new, lightness, space when anxiety used to live. Silence that doesn't hurt as much anymore. And little by little you understand you didn't need to hate to heal. You just needed acceptance. Acceptance that you loved. Acceptance that it didn't work. Acceptance that you did your part. Acceptance that you cannot control someone else's. And when you get there, there's no rage. There's clarity. And clarity frees you more than resentment ever could. So if today you're at that point where you could choose hate, choose something harder. Choose to let go with love, not for them, for you. Because a heart that knows how to love well doesn't need to get dirty to walk away. It only needs the courage to say goodbye without losing who it is. And sometimes you don't even miss the person. It's not even their voice, their laugh, or even their hugs. It's not the deep conversations or the midnight text. You honestly just miss the idea. You miss how they made you feel important. You miss the validation you felt when you were by their side. You miss feeling chosen. You miss feeling like someone truly loved you, even if it was only in their best moments. And that is completely human, completely normal. We've all been there. We've all felt that emptiness to make us confuse nostalgia with love. And it's normal and it's real. So don't punish yourself for feeling it. But here's what many people don't want to hear. Don't confuse attachment with destiny. Don't confuse intensity with stability. Don't confuse promises with actions. Yes, chemistry can be explosive. It can set your heart on fire. And yes, intensity can be intoxicating. It can make you feel like you've never loved so deeply before. But chemistry doesn't pay your bills. Chemistry doesn't heal wounds. Chemistry doesn't respect your boundaries. And intensity doesn't build trust. It doesn't create security, and it doesn't replace responsibility. Healthy love does not leave you in constant anxiety. It doesn't leave you wondering, is today the day that they show up or not? It doesn't make you check your phone over and over waiting for signs to never come. Healthy love is not a push and pull. It's not a game of hide and seek. It's not a test of endless patience. Healthy love feels safe. It feels like taking a deep breath after years of holding it in. It feels like coming home after a long journey. It feels like you can relax, lower your guard, and still be enough. If what you experienced was constant uncertainty, if your heart raced more from fear than from excitement, that wasn't mature love. It was connection rooted in wounds. And that's painful to admit, I know. But it hurts because you wanted to believe you could heal together. It hurts because you gave everything believing that that would be enough. And it hurts because you realize that passion and desire are not always enough. Wounds recognize each other. They attract each other. They understand each other. But that doesn't mean that they will heal together. You may have loved intensely. You may have given it everything. You may have wanted them with every fiber of your being. But sometimes that's not enough to heal. It's not enough to stay together. And that is not your fault. You're not responsible for someone else's decisions. You're not responsible for their capacity to love, to grow, to show up. What you can do is learn to recognize it. Stop blaming yourself for missing the feeling instead of the person. Stop confusing nostalgia with destiny. Because when you truly understand that what you felt was real, but not the love that you deserve, something begins to shift. You begin to release this idea, this expectation, the need for it to have been different. And you begin to understand that real peace doesn't come from insisting. It honestly comes from allowing yourself to just let go. And even if it hurts, even if it burns, even if it takes nights of crying alone, every tear is a step toward freedom. Because when you learn to distinguish between attachment and true love, you start creating space for something that can truly hold you. Something that doesn't make you question yourself every minute. Something that doesn't trap you in cycles of anxiety, fear, and nostalgia. And that, even if it takes time, even if it hurts, it's what makes you grow. And it prepares you for a love that is real, healthy, and mutual. And that makes you feel chosen every single day without effort, without uncertainty. And there's a point in grief where something shifts. And it's not immediate, it's not a switch that flips overnight. It's slow, unexpected, and sometimes it shows up when you least expect it. Suddenly, you're not crying all day. You don't wake up with all that weight of abandonment glued to your chest. You're not checking your phone every 5 minutes for a message that isn't coming. It doesn't hurt every second like your heart is constantly on fire. And in that space that remains, you start to see yourself. You begin to recognize yourself again. You hear your own voice beneath the noise of the pain. You start asking questions you were once afraid to ask, like, what do I need? What do I deserve? Why did I accept less? Why did I settle for crumbs when I could have had the whole table? And right there, that's when the real growth begins. The kind of growth that hurts more than the breakup itself. The kind of growth that no one sees from the outside. The kind of growth no one applauds because it's silent, intimate, deep. Letting go is not losing. It never is. Letting go is reclaiming your dignity, reclaiming your peace, reclaiming the energy someone else was draining without being willing to hold it. So letting go is saying, I'd rather be alone than badly accompanied. I'd rather have my peace than your confusion. I'd rather have my self-love than your inconsistent love. I'd rather breathe, heal, and grow, even if it hurts, than stay where I'm not valued. And that changes everything. It changes the way you look at love, it changes the way you look at others, and it changes the way you look at yourself. Because when you truly decide to let go, trust me, there's no going back. Not out of resentment, not out of pride, but out of clarity, out of self-respect, out of love for your own life and heart. Suddenly you realize that every tear, every sleepless night, every argument you try to fix on your own, it was worth it. And it brought you here, to this place where your peace is worth more than any relationship unwilling to sustain you. And the most liberating part is this: you're no longer searching outside yourself. You're no longer waiting for validation. You no longer need someone else to complete your story. You're no longer dependent on the love of someone who wasn't ready to love you the way you deserved. Now you are whole. Now you are enough. Now your heart beats with its own strength. And that is more powerful than any story that could have been. Because when you arrive here, when you decide that your peace and dignity are worth more than any comeback, the world feels different. Love feels different. You feel different. And that's when you understand letting go is not losing. Letting go is winning. Winning your life, winning your heart, winning your freedom. And once you feel that, there's no going back. You don't want to go back. You don't need to go back, because you learn something no one can ever take from you. Your self-love will always be your greatest companion. And if someone goes back to their ex, if someone returns to their comfort zone, if someone chooses what's familiar instead of evolving, let them. Truly, let them. Don't chase them. Don't run after someone who decided to stay where they feel comfortable. Don't fight for something that is no longer meant for you. And yes, I know what you're thinking. But what if they still love me? But what if one day they realize what they lost? But what if they just need time? No, because while you're waiting, they're comfortable. They're staying in their comfort zone. They're repeating patterns. They're going back to what doesn't require change. And you're there trying to be enough for someone who doesn't want to grow. So don't compete. Don't try to prove you're better than their ex. Don't try to convince them that you were the right choice. Don't waste energy trying to persuade someone of something that they've already chosen not to see. Because love, real love, is not a competition. It never was. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to beg to be seen, recognized, or chosen. You don't need to justify your intensity or your boundaries. You don't need to explain that you deserve respect and care. Someone who is ready to grow will seek growth, will seek learning, will step out of their comfort zone even if it hurts, even if it's scary, even if they have to face their own demons. Someone who wants peace will choose peace, will choose clarity over confusion, will choose stability over constant drama, will choose to show up in a way you deserve. Someone will hold your boundaries, they will hold your heart, will hold what others were not brave enough to hold. And someone who isn't ready will simply go back to what they know, to what's comfortable, to what doesn't require them to look within, to what doesn't require growth. Yes, and that can hurt. It hurts because you expected more. It hurts because you gave everything. It hurts because you loved in a way few people can love. It hurts because you wanted a life partner, not someone who just enjoyed your love without reciprocating it. But remember, it's not your job to save anyone. It is not your job to emotionally educate your partner. It is not your job to heal someone who doesn't want to heal. You are not their therapist. You are not their spiritual guide. You are not a miracle in a human form. Your only job, and your most important job, is not to abandon yourself again. It's to remind yourself every day that you deserve more, that you deserve peace and respect, that you deserve someone who isn't afraid to hold your heart, and someone whose heart you're not afraid to hold either. If it hurts that someone you loved went back to what's familiar, allow yourself to feel it. Cry if you need to cry. Feel the betrayal, the disappointment, the sadness. But don't forget, your worth does not depend on anyone else. Your dignity does not depend on someone who wasn't ready. Your heart does not need external validation to be enough. And one day when you least expect it, you'll realize letting go is not losing. It isn't. Letting go is actually protecting yourself. Letting go is loving yourself. Letting go is deciding that your peace is worth more than any relationship that cannot hold you the way that you deserve. And if it hurts today, but tomorrow I promise you it will set you free. And there's a book that fits perfectly with this episode, and it's called The Language of Letting Go by melody beaty. And it connects deeply with everything we've explored here. How letting go doesn't mean losing, but reclaiming your peace, your dignity, and your self-love. She teaches us that letting go isn't about hate or blame, but about learning from pain and strengthening our self-worth. She reinforces that it's not your job to save anyone or force anyone to change. Their real power comes from protecting your own heart. This book is like a manual for letting go with love, with awareness, and with courage. So today, we close this series. And before you finish listening, I want you to close something deeper with me. Something we often carry without realizing it. The guilt, the doubt, the fantasy of what if. That if only, that makes you look back and wonder if it was all your fault. So don't go back out of nostalgia. Don't go back out of loneliness. And don't go back out of fear. Don't return to someone who already decided they couldn't hold you. Don't return to what made you doubt yourself. And don't return to what made you feel insufficient. Return only to yourself. Return to your heart. Return to your strength. Return to the person who has learned how to cry, to feel, and to heal. Because loving is beautiful, but loving yourself is secret. And if there's one thing I want you to take with you today, it's this. Your love was real. Your devotion was honest. Your heart was brave, and that was never a mistake. Letting go with love is not a weakness. Letting go with love is the greatest act of respect toward yourself. It is saying aloud, I deserve more. I deserve peace, and I deserve a love that doesn't run when things get deep. So breathe with me. Inhale. Exhale. If it hurts today, it's because it was real. But if today you choose to let go, it's because you're growing. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to heal. Allow yourself to recognize that you did the best you could with what you had at that time. And when you're ready, open your heart again. But this time, do it differently. Without shrinking yourself, without chasing, without begging. Do it with strength, with light, with self-love. Because the love that is meant for you will not ask you to become small. It will not ask you to forget who you are, and it will not ask you to suffer in silence. It will find you being big. It will find you being whole. It will find you walking with your dignity intact and your heart open without fear. And that is what letting go with love truly means. That is what loving yourself really means. So thank you for closing this series with me. Thank you for allowing yourself to feel. Thank you for allowing yourself to heal. Today, we don't just end a series. Today, we take the first step toward the love we truly deserve. In the description of this episode, you'll find the Amazon link with the complete list of books mentioned on No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet from the very first episode until today. And don't forget, every Friday, there's a new episode waiting for you. And get ready because March is coming with something completely new. After February of letting go, of crying, of releasing what no longer served us, it's time to open your eyes and take a deep breath. This month on the podcast, I'm beginning a brand new series that goes beyond love stories, a series about rebirth from within. The new series is called Bloom, Rising Within. Florecer, renacer desde adentro. And what you're going to hear isn't theory or easy advice. It's an intense, deep, and provocative journey toward reconnecting with your inner strength, reclaiming your energy, and blooming in every area of your life. Each episode will be the seed of awakening, like that forest that was sleeping inside you, waiting for the right moment to shine. Spring is our metaphor. What once seemed dead, what once felt lost, begins to grow, to open, and to bloom with its own light. In this first episode, Rising from Silence, Renacer del Silencio will explore how to reconnect with your inner voice after everything you've let go of, how to listen to your own needs, recognize your boundaries, awaken your strength, and prioritize what truly matters. Because what you stayed silent about, what you held in, what you let go of is not the ground where you will bloom. So get ready to feel every word, for each sentence to shake you, free you, and awaken you. March will not just be another month. It will be the month to rise again, to open without fear, to bloom without apology, and to shine with all the light that has always lived within you. This is your invitation to bloom week by week, to walk through an emotional and transformative journey that will change the way you see yourself and connect with life. Because what begins in silence ends in strength. So I hope you can join me. You were listening to No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin. Until next time.